In this video, I am going to continue with the cosmology of our belief system. I'm going to talk about the second stage in the development of the galaxy. This is where the galaxy grows in size and complexity. And in this phase of the development is where the chosen playground is created. And then also the player form on the playground is created. So first I will talk about how the playground is created in the galaxy. After the galaxy is born through the black hole, uh, all the energy in the beginning were disorganized. They were extremely hot. That disorganized energy over time cooled down to create the hydrogens. And then the hydrogen turned into helium, and then they formed the early stars. And then through the center of these stars, more complex elements were created, things like carbon and oxygen and so on. And then as these early stars explode, they distribute all those complex elements into the galaxy. And through this process of forming new stars and then exploding through supernova creates more and more complex elements throughout the galaxy. And then somewhere in the quiet zone in the galaxy, a chosen planet begins to form to create the playground. Now, when I say chosen planet, because before God creates the galaxy, God already has a plan to develop the galaxy. Just like an architect, he has already drawn out the finished design of the building before he constructs the building. Similarly, God already has the finished design of the galaxy before God creates the galaxy. And from our perspective, it looks like everything is random. All these random events, all these random development leads to a predetermined finished form. That means the destination perspective also holds true, that things were destined to be created. So in this universe that God designed, both perspectives are true. That random perspective, so from our perspective, the galaxy randomly came together. But at the same time, all these random development leads to a predetermined form that was already designed by God before the galaxy was born. So that means every single atom since the birth of the galaxy has been perfectly placed and fell exactly where they needed to fall to create the chosen planet, to create this playground. In our Milky Way galaxy is planet Earth. So planet Earth was destined to be created from the birth of the galaxy many, many billions years prior. So planet Earth was destined to be created from the birth of the galaxy. So this saying that God does have a plan, that everything is guided by God, that is true. Now, exactly how that works, it is difficult to understand how God could create this universe according to her plan when everything looks like it's all random. But both perspectives can hold true in this reality. After the creation of the playground is created, the player form on the playground can now begin. And the creation process of the human form starts out as a single cell without a nucleus. On our planet Earth, this happened approximately 4 billion years ago. The first single cell without a nucleus came into existence. And how does this single cell without a nucleus emerge on the planet? I theorize that the first organic life starts out from a puddle of perfectly mixed ingredients of essential elements that are predetermined to be brought together from the birth of the galaxy. all the essential elements needed to create the player form, such as oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, are together in the exact amount at one particular location to jumpstart the first organic life. As mentioned, since the entire development process of the galaxy is planned, those essential elements are predetermined to be brought together from the birth of the galaxy. In other words, all the elements that make up the first single cell, oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, are together at one particular location. This mixture of elements spontaneously transition from chemistry to biology. Remember that every single atom throughout the galaxy has been perfectly placed and fell exactly where they needed to fall since the birth of the galaxy. So all those essential elements that make up the first single cell, they were planned to be brought together from the birth of the galaxy. God already planned for these molecules and atoms to come together at this one particular spot on our planet to jumpstart for the first organic life. Again, God guides everything in the galaxy down to the atom. So every atom has been perfectly placed since the beginning of the galaxy. And this puddle of perfectly mixed ingredient of elements, they came together to create this first single cell. And for us here on Earth, the player form took about 4 billion years to complete. We emerged as a single cell without a nucleus 4 billion years ago. Then it took 2 billion years for us to develop a nucleus. And then we turned from a single cell to a multicellular form. This process took about a billion years. And then from the multicellular form, we grew and evolved into the modern human form approximately 200,000 years ago. And remember, this entire process is guided by God. God already has a plan to develop the human form. God already has a design of the human form before God even creates the galaxy. So this human form has already been planned and designed prior to the birth of the galaxy. And in our belief system, we believe that every human form throughout the universe, they resemble us, this human form. So all the extraterrestrials, the life forms in other galaxies, if we were to see them, they would look like us, human beings. Because, again, this human form was already planned and designed prior to the birth of the galaxy. This is the design of the human form God already predetermined for every galaxy. They all look the same. We have the same features. We have similar emotions, fear and love. This human form looks like it was randomly created, but at the same time, again, it is destined to be created. So both perspectives are true. The random perspective, from our perspective, things are random, but ultimately, God has a plan, and all these random development leads to a predetermined form that God has planned and designed